Hey science lovers, it's Becky with Lab Rat Academy, and I'm hiking out here at Toro Park. And as I'm hiking along these trails, I'm hearing something fascinating in the trees, and it sounds like a woodpecker. And I also notice signs of these woodpeckers doing something fascinating on these trees. There are these holes on these trees with acorns shoved inside of them. Now, for a woodpecker to be able to peck this wood is so amazing, because if I was to bang my head against this tree, I would actually get something called a concussion. I'd get brain damage. My eyeballs will pop out of my face, which is something I am not made to do. But a woodpecker has a fascinating adaptation, actually lots of fascinating adaptations of how they can bang their head up against a tree to be able to make holes, to be able to get the bugs inside of it, and to put acorns inside of them. You can actually hear them back there. Let's take a look.
Check out this acorn woodpecker right here. It has a beautiful crown on its head, it has a white belly and a black back, and this is the culprit of all of these holes in these trees. And they have an amazing head and beak and brain and eyeballs to be able to do it. I can even see two babies right there on the left and right hand side of that tree. And I can also see one right here. And I can tell those are babies because they're red on the top of their head, are not as vibrant.
Here's a close-up of those amazing acorns on the underside. They just cling to the bottom and put holes all the way. This is a book tree. So those woodpeckers are really hard to find when they're actually trying to bang against the tree. So I'm going to just talk about it right now. So some of the cool things that a woodpecker has that enables it to bang against a tree, because if I was a woodpecker and I was coming and hitting the tree, I would actually be impacting it 15 miles per hour, 20 times per second, and 12,000 times per day, which is super fascinating. So to be able to protect a woodpecker's head, they have a different kind of skull than we have, because we have a very hard skull, and a woodpecker skull is actually spongy. So it actually is a shock absorber as it bangs against the tree. Another thing that it has is that in our heads, we have this fluid, it's called cerebral spinal fluid, so that when we hit our head, it's kind of like a water balloon, but they don't have that cerebral spinal fluid in their head, so with that, when they hit the tree, it actually doesn't have that movement, so there is less jarring of that brain, which is good for them, which is a little way different than ours. Another thing that it has is that it has a tongue, really strange tongue, that actually splits and it shoots up the back of the head, kind of like a pillow, and it creates cushion. I know that sounds weird. That actually goes through their sinuses around the back of the head and then creates that cushion when it bangs. And it also has a lot of extra fluid inside of the eyes so that the eyes don't explode out the front. It also has an extra eyelid that creates this thickness so that right before they hit their head, that eyelid pops up to keep their eyeballs inside of their head. Isn't that crazy? They also have, when their beaks hit, their lower beak is a little bit longer than their upper beak. So when they hit the tree, the impact hits the bottom, and so that hits, it absorbs the rest of their body rather than being absorbed inside of their head. Another thing is that they actually have a smaller brain, so there is less to be jarred inside of their brain. So that is a whole bunch of different things that enable them to be able to hit that tree, to be able to impact and create all these different holes, and to be able to put an acorn in there. Those collect bugs, and they come back and get those bugs later. So fascinating. Science is amazing, and God has created these creatures to be able to do this. I was definitely not made to do that. Each of us have our own gifts, our own skills, our own strengths. You guys have your own strengths that are different than mine too. So figure out what those are, how they can be used for God's glory, and I hope you guys have a beautiful day. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.